Shut up, Matt.
Thanks. That should be the
All
very,
right.
very first thing anyone hears when they look at the podcast.
All right, greetings everybody. Welcome to another episode, I guess, of what we're calling Tempest Talks, which is what Ryan suggested, and it's terrible because Ryan suggested it, but it's fine. We'll go with it.
For the record, I suggested a number of things.
Yeah, that was the
welcome to
best
another
one.
episode
To a number of things.
of Tempest Talks in between as we sit in between seasons 1 and 2. Today, since as we record this, Star Trek Day just happened the other day, and they dropped a whole bunch of news, including a new trailer for Star Trek Prodigy, which we haven't actually talked about at all. We've talked about all the other Star Trek stuff out there lately, but not Prodigy. So we figured we would talk about it. So with me is Ryan and Tara, as well as Matt and Travis. Say hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
All right.
Yeah,
So we were going to kick things off with, and we might get this out, but we're going to kick it off with actually just watching everything ourselves. Because I think we've all seen it, but I've only actually watched all of the stuff once. So, Ryan, if you're ready, go ahead and hit it.
All right. Share screen. All right. Can
Oh my God, it's all porn.
see my screen right now?
Oh,
My God, it's full of porn.
Ryan, what is wrong with you?
That's not nice.
All right. Let's go back up here.
Because they can't see.
They don't know.
They don't.
Oh, they know.
I just did it before. How do you share sound?
It's already
I
clicked.
am sharing sound. So you guys should be able to hear this through your speakers. And now we're about to press play on Star Trek Prodigy, the teaser trailer to start. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
No one shall escape.
I'm getting out of here to a better life. You're the only one who still thinks he can.
What will happen if they catch us?
Like it or not, you're stuck with me.
I tried to save you, and now we can save each other. What is all of this? Our ticket out of here.
We've only just begun.
There are a lot more stars than I thought.
Neat. So is that what they released yesterday, or was it something else?
No,
That's
that was
the
first
older one. Yeah,
That's the older one. Yeah,
that
that's
was
what I
a couple months
thought.
ago.
Yeah.
His voice at the end is awesome.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and pop up the one that they released the other day.
Turn up the volume.
The full trailer with a small trailer before the trailer.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is going to be awesome. All right. 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
The trailer for the trailer.
Hope. There's no purpose here.
How did a ship get inside here?
The more important question, how do we get it out?
Join us. You always wanted to see the stars.
On behalf of Starfleet, welcome aboard.
What is that?
Have you ever even flown a ship before?
No! Does it show?
Disabling gravity.
Okay.
Those magnetic
Get to
boots.
go there and explore it.
This ought to be good.
It appears we are fighting now.
No one shall escape.
Was that a Kazon?
Me.
Yep.
My ship. There goes our exit.
We're so dead!
Fire the pew 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 button.
I don't see a pew 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 button.
Just hit them all until it goes pew pew.
We've got phasers, baby.
I've seen my share of wayward crews, and I can tell you this. You've got potential.
So I had not seen that trailer
Yeah,
yet.
me neither.
Oh, okay.
So, wow, that's
What do we
something.
think? What are your guys' first reactions?
Yeah.
So is Janeway a hologram?
Yeah, she's like
Yep.
an emergent. Isn't she like a training hologram or something?
Yeah, she's like the doctor from
Yeah.
Voyager, basically, but for
Oh, interesting.
captaining.
How the tables have turned.
So my first reaction to the very first time we saw the teaser trailer was it did not grab me at all. I thought it felt way more like Star Wars and not Star Trek. And the only thing that I really appreciated about it, the first viewing of the teaser trailer, was the music and the starship. And that was it, because that was the only parts that felt Star Trek to me. This is different. My interest is now peaked.
Also, I thought when I first saw the trailer, it looked really childish. But then when Travis said that it was a Nickelodeon production, I was like, are you messing with me? And he's like, no, it's a Nickelodeon production, so it's like geared toward kids. And I was like, huh, okay. Because in that regard, I can get more on board if it's more of a like introducing kids to Star Trek, because getting their attention in that way would draw them further and further into Star Trek lore, I feel like. So
Yeah, the running talk of the production stuff was like this. The goal was to use this as a way to introduce younger kids into Star Trek, because it's tough to do that with a lot of the Star Trek that's out there already.
Bah.
So.
In my day, we had Balance of Terror, and we liked it. By God, we had
Brian,
Spock's brain.
That was in no way your day.
Brain.
Yeah.
also, Brian was never a child.
No, I was younger.
Had a slinky, but I straightened it.
And in my day, we had the Next Generation seasons 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
In
we
my
were
day, we had
thankful.
Pulaski, and we were grateful.
We were great.
In my day, we had Code of Honor, and we really thought that was a bad idea.
Yeah, it's just ugh.
Well,
Even from jump, that was not great.
So I thought the timing was fun because like someone had actually just posted on Tara's Facebook about trying to find episodes of TNG to show to like a friend's kids or whatever, and they were like, we're trying to find kids like more kiddie episodes to show them, to introduce them to Star Trek, because obviously like little kids and young kids, a lot of Star Trek is a little slower and maybe a little too mature for them or to follow along. And I was running down that list, and like all the ones that I had found on some website that kind of ran through a bunch of them, a handful were pretty solid episodes, but also a lot of them that were sort of kid focused wouldn't generally be considered good episodes of TNG.
Like what was on there, like Rascals?
Rascals was definitely on there, but that's also a great episode.
What's wrong with you?
I don't mind it. I think it's fun, but its acclaim is not universal for sure.
Right, but like Rascals is also like, it has younger characters, right? But that's also like those characters are still old. Like,
yeah.
Like they're still playing a 45-year-old who's just in a smaller body now.
Yeah.
Did you know that the kid who played young Jean-Luc Picard is the same kid that plays Renee?
Mm-hmm.
The
That's
neat
fun.
thing. Yeah.
Let's see. So yeah,
Of course I
so
knew that, Matt.
some looking at the list. Trouble with Tribbles is on there.
Yeah.
Inner Light, Rascals, City
Inner
on
Light?
the Edge of Forever.
Inner
Yeah.
Light for the kids show?
Inner Light
that's
is the most boring episode for a child.
Yeah, it's pretty deep for a kid's episode.
Yeah.
Devil in the Dark. Let's see.
Sorry, I muted Tara because Logan started screaming. But your suggestion was what?
Once Upon a Time in Voyager.
My
the
suggestion
Imaginary
was
Friend episode.
Times Arrow, because they study Mark Twain in school, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So
The
yeah,
Alan Moraine episode in Deep Space Nine that everyone loves.
Move along home. Alan Rain, count to
Yeah.
4. Yeah.
so like rather than trying to piecemeal, the idea was let's make something. I mean, I think my gut is, I have not seen that directly mentioned in any of like the handful of articles that I read. I haven't done a ton of stuff, but I feel like they saw how popular and how successful Clone Wars was for
man.
Star Wars.
Yeah, that's
And
what
they
I
were like,
couldn't put it down, but yeah, that's what it's
It feels very much like a Clone Wars was geared towards kids, but doesn't treat kids really stupid. It's still a kids show though.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're trying to sort of hit that niche.
Yeah.
I think you might, like to Brian's point, I think that's exactly right. Well, I mean, it's to Travis's point, but Brian was sharing.
Don't give Brian credit.
But I agreed with it, so it's a mine now.
Right.
It was Travis's point, but Brian said, "Yeah, that was it," and I was like, "Yeah, that is it." That's exactly why I had bias against it to begin with, was because it felt so Star Warsy, and I didn't really know why it did, but yeah, I think that's exactly right.
When I saw the official trailer, which is the second one we watched, when you had said that it sounded Star Warsy, I was like, okay, well, what does like Star Trek mean to me in general, right? Like, it's not just the fact that they're humans versus aliens. Like, what is the thing? And there were actually 2 lines in the new full main trailer or whatever, where he talks about how they want to just explore, where he's like, we're going to just go explore this place, and was excited about the idea of that. And so like exploration is something that I feel is very ingrained in what Star Trek is. And so there were a couple lines in the current one that weren't in the first trailer, but it's very much like I'm sure like there's the conceit of they have this ship and the big bad of the show is trying to get the ship from them. And so there's some measure of they're being chased by some big bad. But it feels like at least the majority of the journey is going to be about those teenagers who just sort of commandeered the ship to get away from the planet they were on. And they're just going to explore, go, like they're not trying to get back to the Alpha Quadrant. They're not trying to, do a set thing. They're just going out and exploring and getting away from the place that they were, which feels very Star Trek-y to me in that way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I am really interested in the premise, in the idea of, all right, here are these kids, these characters that are completely disconnected, and they're only kind of interface into the world that we know and have seen before is through the ship that they're just figuring out. And
oh my god, I saw some video that someone had watched the same trailer and was doing their commentary on it. It was like just the most stereotypical Star Trek nerd that you can imagine. And he was really upset about the pew 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 joke, and he was like, kids wouldn't know how to fly a starship. Like, that's ridiculous.
Oh my god,
like, oh my god, dude.
My comment was going to be kids wouldn't know how to fly a starship.
No, are you kidding?
Don't do
Johnny
that.
would get into a starship and go to town. He
No,
would
but
make
the
work.
point
And he is
is
5.
they should go to the academy and then go spend years of training
How are they going to do that?
in the service
How are
of
they gonna do
Starfleet
that?
to figure out how to fly that ship.
They just found
It
that.
should be more
They
complicated
just
than
found
kids find a ship and go.
They just found it.
Well, yeah, but
Have you seen Flight in the Navigator?
all I can
And
think
it's
of is
terrible.
that.
No,
No,
it
how
would
dare
not.
you.
That is
No,
sick.
I actually
That
watched it recently. Well, recently over COVID, blah blah blah. Anyway, sorry, Matt, what were you gonna say?
It seems like, because I don't know, they haven't really released much about the ship as far as I know, but it seems like it seems like they're in the Delta Quadrant, and there's a super advanced Federation ship there for some reason, and who the hell knows how it got there. But it seems that it's almost like the Janeway hologram is almost like the emergency command hologram.
Yeah.
Basically, assuming that everyone that knows how to do anything with the ship is dead or gone, so therefore, they have to walk people through.
so
how to fly
my
the ship.
assumption, and I guess there isn't actually anything that says this explicitly, but what I was assuming is that it was some kind of a training ship, and Janeway hologram is specifically a training hologram, and then for whatever reason the actual cadets that were supposed to be on it are not on it for whatever probably very sad reason, and that that kind of explains,
Which we won't get into.
So we have a space camp situation here.
Yeah. Space camp.
But the kids never made it home. In fact, they've been gone so long, there's no evidence of them anymore.
Yeah.
Ooh. Well, it's an NX ship, so it's an experimental ship. But actually, that sort of leads into, let's throw on the main title sequence, because that actually shows a bunch of the ship.
Yeah.
So
so I will go back to, not that the podcast will care about this, but I'll go back to screen share.
And so one of the fun things when I've seen both the main trailer and then the opening sequence we're about to watch is like, this is going to jade it to make it sound worse, because I know Brian's going to immediately be like, that makes it terrible. It feels like it's leaning a little bit into the Kelvin universe. Like the ship has a bit of a Kelvin styling to Kelvin universe styling, and the music, particularly in the opening thing, like feels very Kelvin, but also more traditionally Star Trekky than anything that like the Abrams verse actually falls into, and I sort of like that balance. So
that's interesting. I did not detect any Kelvin. Like
Really?
no, I didn't. But
the ship very much. Yeah, I mean the ship has made me wonder if it's, and maybe it's they've already said or whatever, but is made me wonder whether it's Kelvin or Prime Universe.
To me, the ship looks very much like a cross between the Sovereign and the Prometheus class, which also
that's another thing.
It sort of bleeds into the oh my gosh, the Voyager class. Oh my god,
Intrepid.
And yeah, it also bleeds into the Intrepid. So that's where all my initial reactions were, which is why I didn't pick up any Kelvin nods. But
gotcha. Well, there's a bunch in the title sequence. So
sure. All right, so I'm going to share the screen now, and I will hit. This isn't the right one, is it? It is. Yes.
Yep.
That's right. We're going to play the Star Trek Prodigy main title sequence. 3, 2, 1, play.
Also, the animation is gorgeous in the show.
It is, yeah. Yeah, see, so that does feel very Kelvin-y to me.
The nacelles look Kelvin-y, but
yeah,
it feels very Prometheus.
Yeah, it does. I like the blend.
A smoothed out Prometheus. Kind
well,
of.
It also, I wonder if it's intentional. If you remember the episode Hope and Fear Voyager, which is where they basically this alien shows up and they discover
they had faked a ship.
Yeah, spoilers, but he faked basically that the Federation sent the super news ship to come retrieve them, and it was actually all a ruse on this alien's part. But it looks like the fake ship from that episode, and the whole conceit of that was this ship had a new drive, a new kind of
that this thing seems to have a special drive.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if that's kind of the idea of like, because
I think that's epic, by the way. This whole sequence, is awesome.
Yeah, and the way it has the chevron kind of motif is coming out, because it has a quantum slipstream dive in that episode, which they then try to basically build themselves later, and then becomes the basis of another episode. So I'm wondering if this episode or this ship in the Prodigy series is like the first Federation ship with that drive, and something went wrong, and now kids are flying around with it on the far side of the galaxy or something.
For the record, I absolutely 100% do see the Kelvin verse, especially in the nacelles. After
the nacelles are very hot roddy.
Yeah.
So that's
and the music, like it's drum heavy with the music and like the high horns, like it feels. Though I think it does lean back into the sort of older Trek stuff that like we remember.
Okay,
I sort of like the blend. I like
now that I was playing it back in my ear. Yeah, like it does feel more Giacchino than it does Horner or anything like that. So interesting.
But also, I personally dig it. So
when there was the straight on shot, like where they're coming at us and we're at their 12 o'clock, the ship looked like the navigator ship.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So also, they're leaning into that too. I'm convinced.
Yeah.
And also, it has Jason Mantzoukas, which I love. Jason Mantzoukas. So
I enjoy him, though I think I'm going to hate his character, but I enjoy him.
Oh, really? Why do you think that?
I don't know, there's something about his character that looks like he's going to be annoying. It looks like it's going to be the Jack Black of the show.
Oh,
and
I love
it's
Jack
going to be
Black.
annoying. I like Jack Black
sort
too.
Of big, loud,
big, loud, obnoxious guy.
Clumsy,
yeah.
Like half.
Wait, that's not the rock guy, right? You're talking about
the big like guy that looks like a goblin.
Yeah, so apparently that is a species that we've seen before. It's the same species that's shown up in multiple other Treks, and they always look different. I can't remember the name of the species though.
That's interesting.
But it's one that has tusks in it.
In the mouth area?
What?
Tusks in the mouth area?
Yeah.
Huh. So Nausicaan would be.
No, it wasn't Nausicaan.
Nausicaan, Chalnoth, and there's a third one. All the makeup basically looks the same.
Yeah, but generally it's weird to find a Nausicaan on a ship. You usually only find them on star bases playing Dom Job.
There really is like the only place that they exist apparently.
Yeah, right.
Even in Lower Decks.
Oh my god. That show.
What was your question, Tara?
What did I say?
Whether or not.
Oh, I said
Oh, it's a Tellarite.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I was one of those.
I said
You
Well,
sure
that's
were.
interesting.
Yeah.
Because the Tellarite is an alpha quadrant. It's one of the founding species
Yeah.
of the Federation. So if that's the case, then it's probably not like on the other side of the galaxy.
Well, that's what Tara's question was.
yeah, I said
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we've
Oh,
seen.
Now it's your time to
No,
shine, hon.
yawn.
Go ahead.
I said are any of those other characters species we've seen before?
Oh yes. The one who Jason Mantzoukas,
Mantzoukas, I think.
Mantzoukas, he plays a Tellarite, which is one that we've seen in various Star Trek iterations, going all the way back to the original series.
All the way up to Star Trek Tempest.
Right.
Wow.
But from what I understand, the show does take place in the Delta Quadrant.
Okay.
So somehow a Tellarite got out there, though. Like we don't know a ton about the Tellarites as far as I'm aware.
Well, they get quite a bit of screen time in Enterprise in the later arc.
Do they?
Yeah, in season 4, with the whole basically in the run up to the events of the founding of the Federation. It's like the Romulans have some ship that is a chameleon thing, and so it's trying to create strife by setting all of the other powers against each other, and then they end up coming together. So we see them a lot in that regard there, and we've seen them a few times in Discovery actually.
Yeah, like they pop up. I just don't know if we have enough. Like, I don't know that much of the background. Another thing is like the little robot that's with them. Zero apparently is its name.
The little round guy.
Yeah, the little round guy is just a little robot that's there with them. It
You
is
mean
voiced,
the thing that's definitely not the thing from Portal?
right?
Yeah.
Definitely not. It's much darker in coloring.
Yeah.
He's voiced by Angus Emery, who is a British actor who is super fun because he played Merlin in the show The Kid Who Would Be King. There's a super fun like spin on the King Arthur myth in which he plays a young Merlin who sometimes transforms into an old Merlin who is Patrick Stewart. So yeah,
That's
that movie
wonderful.
is super fun.
Ooh, 6 degrees.
I believe I believe it's by the same guy who did Sky Kids, if you remember that, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like his second movie or something like that. But like he's great at doing kid adventure movies.
The Kurt Russell Sky Kids?
It's
that was
That's
Sky High.
Spy Kids.
No, Sky Kids. It's one that Brian told me about years ago because
Is it that guy?
yeah, I believe it's that same guy. It's a kids adventure movie where like 2 kids in Arizona just like somehow get tied up with like the mob and and like it has all of like their friend is an uncle who flies planes and so there's a lot of
Is
flight.
that one? I thought he had to change the title. So yeah,
what's
this
Fly
movie
Boys?
right, that's right. Okay, it was Fly Boys when I first saw it, but then the James Franco movie happened, which is like their World War I fighter pilots or something, I think.
Yeah.
Which is called Fly Boys. So then they changed the name. But yes, this movie that I saw as part of a film festival I was volunteering for out here in LA 12, 13 years ago at this point or something. Wouldn't have known this movie from Adam other than the fact that it was in this festival, and I was helping to run the booth because Matt and I ran the booth at our college way back when. So I was helping out in that regard, and I distinctly remember like this guy had brought it in on a hard drive or something, and he was just really finicky about something. I don't even remember what it was, but like some technical aspect. And I remember I was getting like annoyed about it. Like, come on, man, it's just like let's go.
So it sounded a lot like me, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and and I think I was being unkind in the sense of like, come on, it's going to be crap, so it doesn't matter anyway, dude. So not that I said that, but like the unkind part of me was thinking that, and then we figured out whatever it was, and we got it and played it, and it's great. It's a great movie. It's got Tom Sizemore, is it? I want to say.
Yeah, and one of the Baldwins is in there.
Now
that we have taken that nice
lesser Baldwin,
right? One of the lesser Baldwins, but it has the climax scene is the craziest climax scene I've ever seen, in a really in any movie, let alone just a low budget movie, which is like it's a whole skydiving thing, but it's with the kids. Like
Whoa.
I'm assuming there are doubles in there somewhere, but the sequence itself is the kids falling through the sky, and that is the climax of the movie in this action scene. Yeah, and I don't know how they did it on the $20 that they had, but it's great.
Yeah.
And also the fun aside that we just did, that is absolutely not the same director that did it.
Oh.
I was completely wrong. The guy who did Kid Would Be King was the guy who did Attack the Block, which is another small budget awesome movie.
Definitely not that movie then.
No.
But if you can find it, Sky Kids is still a really good movie.
Still,
and also Spy Kids has Ricardo Montalban.
Also Sky High. It has Kurt
Which
Russell.
is the Kurt Russell that I was thinking of.
Man, there's a whole loop.
We're just all over the map on this one.
But they are all kids. They're all for kids, though, and that's what's important.
Wait, was Spy Kids 3D Ricardo Montalban's last credit?
It might be.
I have no
Oh
idea.
God.
Oh, that's almost as good as what's his head's last credit from the Transformers animated movie.
Orson Welles.
Orson Welles. His very last credit was the
Or
Transformers.
Ethel Merman's
really?
last credit being
Yeah.
Airplane.
Wow.
Yep.
Whose last credit being Airplane?
Ethel Merman.
Oh my God.
That's true.
You know the joke? Yeah, Private so-and-so over there
Thinks he's Ethel Merman.
Yeah, right.
And
that-
it was
actually
Ethel
Ethel Merman.
It was. That was. She died that young. She was not
Yeah.
that old in that. Oh my gosh. All
Well,
right.
She was 98 years old.
was
in that.
Yeah, she was not young.
Right, but
They
okay.
had great. They had great makeup back then.
Yeah.
but not anymore.
It's one of the few fields that's reverted in time.
So I was.
But
about
yeah, Star Trek Prodigy for kids.
Yeah. Hooray! Go
Yeah.
kids.
For kids.
I was about to go on an IMDb a black hole because of all that, but we won't. Is there anything else we wanted to check out, or do we want to just keep going on it? So the last thing I wanted to say about Prodigy, me
Yeah.
personally, not like I'm not trying to put a button on it. We can still talk about it, but it took me way too long to pick up that Janeway was in the show. Like I didn't pick it up. Like the trailer,
Even her voiceover in the very first trailer.
yeah, for some reason it didn't register for me. Maybe it was because I was already like putting my biases in there about this. There's, this is too Star Warsy. It just didn't click. And it wasn't until, because I didn't see the new trailer until today, but watching the opening, seeing her face in the end credits, or in the opening credits, I guess I should say, that was really cool. So
What are they flying through? There's
Janeway.
There's an arm. Yeah, but why?
Oh, I think that's the big
it's all the
bad
characters.
guy. Yeah.
Well, so all of in the opening credits,
Yeah.
they fly by all the characters that are in the show.
Oh.
So if you see like they fly up and it's like the rock dude, and then like the hand that they fly past that they
Yeah.
run is the arm of the robot that's with them and stuff. So like,
Oh,
and so
okay.
when they fly up Janeway, it's because she's one of the characters in the show. So
Oh, I thought it was like in Spaceballs, with the giant maid. Like I didn't know what was happening.
I mean, we see the ship transforms a little bit, so who knows? Maybe they'll go there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a designated starship nerd, I'm not sure how I feel about the after booster thing.
You don't like the fact that it poops out another nacelle.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to reserve judgment on.
Would you rather them make it something with spores?
Nope. But it just like why? Okay, I'm gonna try not to go down a nerdgasm. But like
now we present Gatekeeping by Brian Finifter.
Yeah. In an aircraft that flies through the air, you bring things inside because of drag. In space, there's no such thing as drag. So
well, that's not
what
entirely.
So the ships are still designed as if there is some kind of so I'll call it like sci-fi drag, subspace.
It's subspace
blah, blah, blah.
turbulence drag.
Yeah, but I don't know. It seemed like it seems hot roddy in the sense of the Kelvin Enterprise, and it just looks like it just will break my suspension of disbelief. Now, granted, my standard of suspension of disbelief for spaceships in Star Trek is ridiculous, and it is not a standard that anything should be held to.
Yeah,
it's probably not going to be the same standard as like an 8-year-old watching this for the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And I will just sit on my lawn and throw
Paper airplanes
and shore air at people.
Darts.
Yeah.
There
Toilet.
are other ships that have that a third nacelle to make them go faster, like the Enterprise R type that
Well, we don't know that it's to go
Admiral
faster.
Riker has in All Good Things.
So
Because they go to like, doesn't he say like warp 12 or something? And that, what does he say? Warp
Warp 13.
above
warp 13. That's what it is. Yeah.
warp
above
13.
warp 10, but we don't know if they changed the scale, and that's a big
No,
topic of-
what they installed was an anti-reptilian compensator. So that's go above.
So,
warp
so speaking of that, like Voyager has its many problems, but like I'm happy Janeway's in this. Like I like Janeway as a character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's good that she's gonna pop in there and like get some
Yeah.
respect on her name. you
Well,
know?
I like all the
Like,
most of the characters in Voyager I liked a lot.
Yeah.
They were
And-
fun.
and
They
the-
were good.
the real shame of Voyager is that Kate Mulgrew is such a better actress than the writing reached up to. You know, like, and there's great material in Voyager. It's not to say that there's not.
Captain
but, like,
Janeway has the best gifs of any captain.
You mean gifts?
Gifs, yeah.
We
They're the best.
say gifts on this podcast, and I will put my foot down on that.
Yeah, and we say melee also.
Yeah, because that's how you say it. So you know, like Patrick Stewart, also a great actor, had some great material in certain episodes to work with, like Sarek and Inner Light. And I feel like Kate Mulgrew never got the same, you know, level of material to like really shine to her full potential. I don't know how they might do that, considering it's a training hologram, like
on a Nickelodeon show.
On a Nickelodeon show. Like I don't know how you stretch Kate Mulgrew's acting chops terribly far in that premise, but I hope they do.
She deserves it.
Yeah, because she does deserve it.
Yeah. Look,
I'm hoping on some. Oh, God.
No, you Matt, go.
I would say I'm hoping on slapping some old age makeup on her and having her in Discovery. 1,000 years in the future.
1,000 years in the future.
Yeah. She's that old.
Okay.
Like Futurama, it's just going to be a bunch of captains' heads in jars.
Yeah.
I was gonna go with the Doctor Who reference with her face like stretched out.
Moisturize me.
Cassandra.
Like Cassandra.
I thought you were going with the face of Bo.
Yeah, the face of Jane.
So I mean, talking about Voyager is a natural segue, considering how much Janeway is apparently going to be a part of Prodigy. So it's not too much of a tangent to say it. Voyager, I think we already covered Voyager in one of our previous supplemental episodes. Maybe not, but
I don't think so.
I think the all of my misgivings I have with Voyager come entirely from the lack of commitment that the writers had. It had nothing to do with the actors. It had nothing to do with the potential of the story. It had nothing to do with the characters. It was all about the fact that the writers gave up on what was undoubtedly a very difficult premise after what was it, season 3 or 4, where they just stopped rationing energy. They stopped counting torpedoes. They stopped doing all these. They gave no F's about shuttlecraft. And like the episode, like there was one episode where the writers just got so sloppy that, in my opinion, I know if you're listening, there's a good chance you're a big Voyager fan. And believe me, I don't disagree with your opinion, because everybody has a right to like whatever they want in Star Trek. My misgivings come completely from the continuity side of things and the convenience of it all, because at the end of any other previous iteration of Star Trek, the ship set a course to a starbase at the end of the episode, and that's why things reset to 0 at the beginning of the next episode. And they tried to follow the formula that wasn't a thing, and we're going to stay dedicated to this for 2-3 seasons, whatever it was, and then flatly gave up on it.
Until they jumped headlong into it with what it was like Year of Hell.
Year of Hell,
like that,
yeah.
The 2-part episode that was just Battlestar Galactica.
Great episode, which is a great episode, and was actually like the original intention and desire on the producer's part was basically for Year of Hell to be an entire season. Which would have been really cool.
Oh man, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, but so I mean, I do agree with your I do agree with a lot of what you're saying, Ryan. but I think a lot of it does come down to, or I think more of it than maybe we realize comes down to the studio or the network pushing back and not, not wanting to give that leeway, going, well, the kids like the spaceship going from planet to planet every week and not having to watch it all in order. And we currently have DS9 doing that right now, and that doesn't make us as much money as TNG did. So let's make this more of a TNG thing.
Sure.
And it's a shame because Voyager and Star Trek in general had an opportunity to basically be the serialized television that we've all experienced since about 2010 or 2005. And it could have been the first one to grab that brass ring, and it didn't.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, as a from the parenting side of things, our kids will generally sit down and watch whatever it is we're watching, and especially if it's something that we care about. We have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old. The 2-year-old will watch whatever sport dad loves. He will sit down and watch it with him because daddy's into it. And Harrison has been known, our oldest has been known to sit down and watch Star Trek from time to time. And when he was really little, he loved the opening credits sequence
for original series.
Oh my god! One of the first things he ever quoted was the original series opening. Was it original series?
Yes, where he go whoosh.
Whoosh.
He quoted it by going whoosh.
Whoosh. Yeah, but no, he would do. No, I guess it was Next Gen, right? Because he would do To Bo We Do.
Oh, he did say To Bo We Do.
Yeah, To Bo We Do. No, and no one does go. Yeah, it was so cute. Regardless, he would still sit down and watch that, and it didn't have cartoon characters or bright colors or zaniness. Like it was, he would just sit down and watch whatever we were watching. So I feel like some of this is, granted for kids who just want that bright, shiny cartoon show that would draw them into that world, but other kids, I feel like I don't want them to be, I don't know,
catered to,
kind of like I don't want it to be like so silly that it's not Star Trek anymore, you know what I mean? Because
there was a quote on one of their articles that I saw. I can't remember which producer it was, but it was one of the producers of the show, specifically said that they would not be talking down to the audience.
Good.
Now, whether they do that or not,
yeah,
we don't know.
Totally.
So, and that actually I think runs back into the Clone Wars comparison. Yeah. Because both Clone Wars and Rebels are like.
Who here has watched Clone Wars? I have not. So
I've recently watched watched them all through the entirety and rewatched Rebels.
I watched a couple episodes and it felt a little too kiddie for me, and I was like, okay, whatever, and I just stopped. But I've heard it gets much better.
Yeah,
it really becomes.
Yeah,
amazing.
It almost does like the Harry Potter thing where it ages with
the
characters.
Interesting.
And that's how I describe it, and I think how I described it to you, Ryan, when we talked about it a while ago, is like the distinction that I make is sometimes it's a Star Wars show and sometimes it's a kids show.
Mm-hmm.
And the Star Wars show is really great and the kids show is fine.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah,
but it's for kids and I'm not a kid, and so that part is maybe not as gripping for me personally.
Yeah,
but the Star Wars stuff is really good, and if Prodigy can walk that same line in the sense of sometimes it's a great Star Trek show and sometimes it's a perfectly fine kid show, the same way that Clone Wars and Rebels did, then it'll be great. Because I think Clone Wars did a great job doing that. And so they just recently released the last season of Clone Wars, or for whatever reason I only watched it recently. And like the actual end, the sequence of a main character dealing with a big plot point that we saw in the movies is genuinely like really emotionally affecting, and was heavy, pretty heavy shit, even for me watching it now at the age of
almost 64.
64, yeah. So if Prodigy is trying to do the same thing and succeeds at doing that, then I think it would be great.
Yeah, I agree.
So you're saying there's hope, Brian?
There's always hope.
See, and this is one of the things that has always tempered my recent expectations of shows and movies is we're setting up expectation right now, coming up with our own plots, our own justifications for why things are and I don't want to push too hard in that direction, because then I will get mentally and emotionally committed to this perfect script that we have all
yeah. And that's the hard part, is investing yourself in your idea of what it's going to be versus,
because it's going to be different than what
Indiana Jones 4.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And probably 5.
And the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that is the hard part, is getting excited about something without letting your imagination take off full sprints in a direction that is different from where the show is actually going to go. And then you're disappointed because the show went right where you went left, but the show never owed you going in the same direction. And that's completely unreasonable for you to expect that.
Exactly.
So yeah, so that is a hard part of all of that.
Yeah. Though I'm curious, like, so just in terms of Star Trek as a property, we only have one example, but we have one example of Star Trek being an animated thing. Oh no, we have two, because we have
two. Yeah.
A very old one.
I forgot.
And it's like, how does Star Trek as a live action series versus Star Trek as an animated series, how do those compare? And does that glean us anything? I mean, I think we all love Lower Decks a whole bunch. So the idea of like, well, the most recent example of Star Trek as an animated thing should get our hopes up with, like, it seems like they can probably skirt that line. I mean, Lower Decks could have very easily just cascaded into nothing but fan service and been not interesting because it was nothing but fan service, but it didn't really do that. It straddles that line, I think, really well, of being a good Star Trek show while also being a super fan servicey show.
Yeah.
And so, like, the most recent example of an animated Star Trek, they do skirt that line that we're hoping that they can skirt. So, like, does that give us a little more hope, or do we just go like, maybe not, because not all of the newest Star Trek shows do?
I think for our group in particular, Lower Decks was guaranteed to be a success when the creative team that put it together was exactly the creative team that we would have put together. Like, our creative vision for making a cartoon show of Star Trek is basically what Lower Decks did. Like,
and it's not just because we kicked around the idea of a Lower Decks version, like, thing 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Like, when we get together and we watch Star Trek, all we do is rip on it in loving fashion and have great laughs at our own hilarity interpretation of the show. And that's exactly what Lower Decks is doing. They're respecting Star Trek by calling out all the shit that it does. But they're doing it in the loving way that we did as friends watching a show that we loved. And so I would say that it doesn't really affect my expectation for Prodigy, because to me, it doesn't look like Prodigy is going to be anything like that. So,
yeah, that's fair.
So it's a completely different take. And like I said, Lower Decks was going to succeed with us, whether we decided to watch it now or whether we gatekeeped until we're like, fine, I'll watch it.
Yeah, we were the audience for that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So Lower Decks is way more self.
It's adult.
It is an adult show, but it's also way more self-referential to, like Ryan was saying, than I think Prodigy is going to try to be. Right?
Oh, totally.
Because
yeah.
Every episode of Lower Decks has a score of Easter eggs to pick out, and I don't think you'll have that with Lower Decks or with Prodigy. It'll be its own kind of creature.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In terms of story and the world building that it does, for the most part.
Yeah.
Matthew, you've been
that totally was
uncharacteristically quiet.
Oh, Panther, I'm glad we had you on.
What say you
about Prometheus? I've heard of it.
Well, welcome.
I've heard
Matt
of the show.
Has an infant,
about it.
He hasn't slept in 7 months.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
Like the last week, she's been a butthole. So
about
sleeping.
So has Logan.
Yeah. In solidarity.
Yeah, she's doing that whole like 14, 15-month sleep regression thing.
It's the
Oh
worst.
god, she hasn't hit a single other one of them, and this one's brutal.
Yeah, it's tough.
So,
Really
yeah,
tough.
she'd
Dog's
be in a
sleeping right
bubble.
now.
No, but
But-
what are your expectations for Prodigy?
No, I don't have any really. I
Probably a wise way to go into it.
exactly like
Yeah.
I honestly don't. I think I'm gonna go with it at Rebels, like Brian was saying with Star Wars Rebels. Star Wars Rebels is very much a kid show, even more so than
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars, I think.
Is it?
And
thought it was
I
the
watched
opposite.
it. I don't think so. It
Okay.
just
I haven't seen
strikes
them
me as
enough.
more kiddie than Rebels.
Interesting.
But
Okay.
I watched it and I really liked it. I thought it was fun. You know, they do some cool Star Wars stuff and it's fun as long as Prometheus is that.
Prodigy.
Prodigy. Why am I thinking Prometheus?
Oh,
It looks like
Prometheus
Prometheus.
definitely is not that.
It looks like the
Go
Prometheus.
watch
That's why.
Prometheus.
Yeah.
It's not a
This is
kid's
not for
show.
kids at all. This is weird.
This isn't for anybody.
Why is that guy melting? No, I
And
think
it-
yeah, just watching it as what it is. It is what it is. If they do some cool Star Trek stuff, I'll be happy. If it's not, it's gonna be bad. But I think it'll be fun.
I feel like
And
so.
I mean, it also comes down to obviously the showrunner and the creative team, right? So Lower Decks is great because Mike Mann is at the helm and is running the show in that direction. Clone Wars and Rebels are great because Filoni and McMahon are equivalent in the Star Wars and Star Trek sense. Like they're both super fans that know they're obviously good storytellers and people with real world Hollywood storytelling production experience, but they are also super fans for the properties that they're now helming, and that makes a difference. I don't know who's show running Prodigy,
I don't know.
but it will, that's going to be a huge part of the equation. So
I feel like for me, it's less than expectation, but I think the thing I'm just more hoping is not necessarily a show that I like, but I'm hoping that it turns into a show that kids like, right?
Yeah.
Like it's okay if it's not a show for me. Like I'm a Star Trek fan and I love Star Trek, but it's entirely possible that show could be super popular as a Star Trek show and it just isn't for me because of whatever reason. But if it gets kids into Star Trek and they watch that, enjoy it, and then they're like, what else is there? And now they can go watch the original series and TNG and all that stuff, then I feel like it's still a success, even if it's not for me. I'm hoping it's fun and an all ages thing that I can also enjoy,
Yeah.
but, or at least I hope it's entertaining enough that Ryan, Tara, and Matt don't kill themselves having to watch it with their kids.
Maybe we should do an interview with our older two sons after they've seen
That
it
would be super fun.
and see
That'd be a
what
great,
they
that'd be a
thought.
great Tempest
It's
talks.
Right.
So it looks like the two guys that created Prodigy
mhm.
Okay.
are the guys that wrote Hotel Transylvania.
Do you mean the
Uh,
show or the late 90s punk rock band?
The movie Hotel
Oh.
Transylvania,
Yeah.
not Transylvania 65000,
Oh.
but just Hotel
I
Transylvania.
loved Hotel Transylvania.
The Lego movie, and they do the Troll Hunter show on Netflix there.
Lego movie. Oh, I thought that was what are their names? Phil Miller and
Christopher.
It's Kevin and
Kristen.
Dan Hagman.
I don't
Right,
recognize
they're listed as writers on it, so they did the story.
okay.
Sorry,
Oh,
Okay.
story by Lego movie
okay.
and Hotel Transylvania. They do the Lego Ninjago movies.
Huh.
Okay.
They wrote the Croods
So-
and Scary Stories to
Cruise
Tell
is
in
an
the Dark.
underrated film.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Cruise is fun.
Huge.
so it looks like that's kind of what
The second one now.
they do.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
there's
Alright.
that. Oh, I got a
There's some
Superman
solid
girl.
there's some solid credentials there, I feel
Yeah.
like.
Yeah,
Travis, you brought up a point that is, worthy of its own hour-long discussion. But I wonder if kids who grow up with Prodigy and Star Trek, Lower Decks, and then I imagine they'll gravitate towards some of the newer shows. I wonder if we've already crossed a bridge too far to reel them back all the way to original series, because it's of how vastly different storytelling capabilities were back then versus now, and whether or not, I mean, you'll eventually,
Yeah.
inevitably, there will be some who will,
Yeah,
but-
we'll go back and rewatch it.
But whether or not the majority would even give it the time of day, I hope so. But like I said, that's a topic for its own.
Yeah, I mean,
I think even good, Travis. Sorry.
I was just gonna say like that is probably accurate, though there's also like a lot of the original series that can sort of be left back there, right? Like that show is definitely one where you kind of rewatch a lot of episodes and you go like, ooh, really?
Yeah.
And then you move on. So it's like I love it, and it's super, and it it's part of my childhood. It's what I grew up with. I'm not that old, but my dad loved watching the original series and had me watching TNG as it was coming out. So like it's a part of my life, but it's definitely something that like I hope that new fans in 5-10 years after they've watched Prodigy and grew up on Prodigy and went like, oh, what else is there? And they go watch, they've seen Discovery or Lower Decks, and they go back and rewatch TNG because that's generally sort of seen as the most popular one.
Yeah.
And then maybe run through DS9 and go like, oh, well, how did all this start? Just out of curiosity, go back and watch. And yeah, they'll probably on a fair amount of them go like, ooh, but hopefully they find the handful of real gems that helped create the mythos that became all of this other stuff, because there is amazing stuff in there that's really fascinating. And one of the reasons I think we all love Star Trek is the fact that it's fairly universal. Some of the things they talk about all the way back then are still pertinent today.
Yeah.
Because they're universal and because they're just foundational. And that's why so I hope that they do. I hope that, again, that's why I want Prodigy to be so successful, because I think it is I think it would be somewhat tough to sit down a kid all the time and be like, watch this thing. And maybe they would, maybe it would be a thing like maybe Harrison will watch the entirety of TNG, but maybe Johnny will be more apt to sitting down and watching Prodigy because it's more fun and has some explosions and it's animated and they just connect to it a little more than they would watching middle-aged men being stuffy in uniforms that we find cool that they might think look lame. So
no, make no mistake, they were lame, but they're so cool.
Well, I mean, it's just the idea of media and arts, quote unquote, marching on, in the sense of like the uniforms are different colors because color TV was still kind of a new neat thing. That's the rationale behind it. And we are now carrying, and Prodigy and Lower Decks and everything else are carrying motifs that were first created with that rationale, right? Like, so the uniforms have different colors in Prodigy and Lower Decks and everything because the original series wanted people to buy color televisions. And 55 years later, now here we are. Which is a whole other thing that I find super fascinating, but is weird. So I think it's the same thing as anything else, where like some people are going to go back, some people are going to watch Star Wars, the original Star Wars, and then go back and watch a Kurosawa film, right? Or watch Sopranos and then go back and watch The Godfather. Like, not everybody, but some people will. And there's no way of avoiding the the decades of in between, and you can't really watch Citizen Kane as if it were coming out today, because the time is a relentless, awful thing.
It is the fire in which we burn.
It is the fire in which we burn.
It's like a predator.
I wish
is what you're looking
there
for.
was some way we could take out the predator's teeth. Is there any way we could do that?
So I don't think kids who come into Star Trek through Prodigy will have the same experience that we had watching original series in the 80s and 90s in its reruns, or TNG in its first run. I just don't think they'll have that experience because it's impossible for them to do. But that doesn't mean that some of them won't go back and enjoy it anyway.
I think it's the same as with, if you look at Doctor Who, a lot of people watch the new Doctor Who's. I do. I think they're fun. I tried watching some of the old Doctor Who episodes, and they are holy crap, god awful.
The one where like the runs where like grubs are coming out of the ground or something, and it's like six half-hour episodes that you could literally edit into a single 40-minute episode, and it would be fine.
The one that got me is it's one of the really, really old black and white ones, and they're in like ancient Mexico, and there's like either Aztec or Maya. I can't remember which was supposed to be,
That's
but
like
it's
the very first one.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
very obviously a whole bunch of English guys in really dark makeup, and it's like, oh no,
Yeah, like when the
That's
Klingons first
awful.
make their appearance.
yes,
Yeah.
but at least they're supposed to be aliens.
Yeah.
You know,
Matt,
no, I'm not
don't
saying
justify it.
no, I'm not saying it's right, but at least you know.
At least they weren't portraying actual human beings. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. That's the line, I guess.
So, and this is maybe sort of, this is going a little in the weeds, but it's something I think for us at least is interesting because we all did theater. Like this is, so for those who don't know, we all met in college as a part of a theater group, and one in another college's theater group that kind of got folded in with us.
Could be me.
And we have done filmmaking in the past, and we love filmmaking and theater and all of the arts in terms of storytelling motifs. Clearly, otherwise we wouldn't be doing Tempest.
Right.
And like it's one of those things where if Prodigy and Discovery and Lower Decks didn't exist now, there'd be no space for new people to sort of discover Star Trek in a modern setting.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like some kid who watches Prodigy at 10 years old and gets into it, they might start making films in 10 years. And if they weren't introduced to a version of Star Trek that got them interested because they didn't sit down and watch a 25-year-old version of TNG, the next generation thing, that's how the legacy properties start to sort of wither and sort of fade out. And so the idea of like the next generation of filmmakers and creators who will make more Star Trek are going to be starting to get sort of like folded in now, and they learn on this thing and then they go back and rewatch things and they build off of that. I think that that's an exciting thing. It's a long-term thing, but I think it hits what we like because I mean we have a bunch of Star Trek and film stuff sort of crossing for us, and so I just like that sort of angle of it.
And ultimately it always comes down to, is it just a good story? Is it a story that is well told? And that's, strip everything else away. That is always what it's about. So if
do they throw gushers or not is the question. Did they pack a lunch?
Yeah.
The important part.
And so like there's definitely a great story to be told within the premise of Prodigy as we see it so far. And if it lives up to that potential, it'll be something really great. It just comes down to story, always and forever.
It sounds like we're gonna revisit this after. What was I can't remember the date on the trailer.
That's the weird thing. So it says October? Fall 2021. So
yeah,
soon. I thought it gave an actual date on the official trailer. I
don't remember. But I remember reading that like they had
October 28th.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe it was something else, but I read something of like they still haven't given it a specific release date yet, and that's weird.
I think they did on that. I think they did on that the most recent trailer. I think because they hadn't up until that point. Because they just said fall, and like fall is now.
It's fall now. Yeah,
fall is September. So, but yeah, like I'm looking forward. I don't know if they're gonna do them weekly, like the same way they do Lower Decks. I'm assuming they will.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna do like the Netflix thing where they drop an entire season and let everybody binge it. So I imagine we'll probably watch a few episodes, but I would love to revisit it after it's come out and sort of see how this matches up with our expectation, hopes, worries, all of those things.
We'll have special guest Harrison.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
It would be interesting to get a child's perspective, honestly.
Totally.
Yeah. Since it is in fact a kid's show.
Other than Matt, clearly.
Other than Matt.
I'm looking at the cast and I'm very excited over a couple of people in the cast. but Jimmy Simpson is in it, and I love that dude.
Hey.
Yeah, he's great. He's
spectacular.
He's apparently the main. So from what I know, at least, the
probably
main big bad guy. Yeah, the main big bad is played by John Noble, who was like the father in Fringe and
Denethor, son of Achilles.
Yeah, Denethor.
And he played Sherlock Holmes's dad in Elementary. Like he's awesome. Like he's great. So he's the big bad, and then Jimmy Simpson plays like what is essentially his Vader to the Emperor.
Yeah, the greatest name I've ever seen, Dreadnought.
Dreadnought.
And I'm all
with
about
a K.
Yeah, I'm all about Jimmy Simpson playing Dreadnought. Like, let's do it.
That guy's probably a good guy. Um,
Yeah, you definitely want him driving you to the airport.
Yeah. He's a really good neighbor. So
but they had got D. Bradley Baker, who is every clone trooper in all animated Star Wars ever. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, doesn't he do like all the voices for the Bad Batch?
He does every voice of the Bad Batch.
Yeah, he does every clone trooper, and he does like every. You will see if you start looking for it, you will see D. Bradley Baker's name in basically every animated product of entertainment that exists.
Because the Bad Batch is literally a story about a unit of nothing but clone troopers. So he has to voice them all.
Yeah, they're all slightly mutated, and they all have different voices, but they all sound like the base clone trooper a little bit.
But he also does a lot of
It's
like
great.
creature and other non like he's either Appa or the other creature in
Momo?
Last Avatar. Momo. Yeah, he's either Appa or Momo. I think Momo.
So he has the voices
stuff like that all the time.
So he is to voices what Doug Jones is to lanky alien.
Yes,
lanky alien prosthetic wearing.
Yeah, like any weird looking like super tall and lanky like alien or prosthetic creature. It's Doug Jones.
Yeah, and if there's a bulky, stockier one, it's Ron Perlman.
For anybody who didn't know this, it will blow your mind. So Doug Jones obviously is Saru on Discovery and every other.
And he's great in that.
Haru.
He's so.
And he is every other, tall, lanky alien ever.
Shape of Water.
Shape of Water. He is also Billy the zombie in Hocus Pocus. And I did not know that. And I lost my marbles and I found out. I was like, no way. I love
She has been such a big fan of Hocus Pocus and Billy specifically.
Forever.
She lost her marbles one Dragon Con when somebody did a really great Billy.
Man. Well, and he committed, this cosplayer who did Billy committed to doing the like mouth sewn closed prosthetic makeup and stuff.
Talk.
And
Awesome.
so he couldn't talk. Someone with him, and I walked by and I did a double take and I backed up and I said, "Oh my God, are you Billy?" And he like just nodded his head at me. And the lady with him was like, "You're the first person to get it. He's been called a zombie all day, but like, knew who he was." And I was like, "You're damn right."
She handed the business card to us and it was actually Doug Jones.
Oh, it was not.
I can't remember if it's high school or college, but Keely went to the same either high school or college as Doug Jones. So like she has this like weird camaraderie where every time Doug Jones pops up in something, she's like, "Doug Jones!" Some connection to him. It's
I met him at a convention once. He's a maybe not anymore, but he is a hugger. He will absolutely give you a hug at the drop of a hat. Like I had never met him before, and this was before Discovery. I forget even what I said to him, just like, "Hi, I'm a big fan," even though I probably wasn't. And we're gonna cut that part out.
Maybe you are. I ain't.
Anyway, yeah, he's a very nice guy because I met him once, and he's very nice. Let's move on.
So, yeah, I was happy with him in Discovery because he gets cast as the creature character and he does a great job because he's got a great physicality about him. But I really love the fact that he gets to really do more acting than just his physicality and there's like some real depth that gets plumbed there.
Yeah, he's really good,
and like he just nails it. It's fantastic. So
he does those like
fantastic.
Yeah, he does those little things that some actors do that really like bring a character out. Like when you watch him walk as Saru, his arms go behind him. It's so weird. It's the most bizarre movement. But yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I mean, it's very much like what Nimoy did with quote Vulcan, like building a character of what a Vulcan is, not just who Spock was. Like Saru brings, Doug Jones built Saru, but he also built Kelpians in general, and you can see that in a lot of the choices he makes in little moments.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And choices other Kelpians make.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, we've gone well beyond the hour that we thought we were going.
Yeah.
So we thought this might be a short episode, so it wasn't a surprise.
I just cut out a whole bunch of crap.
I do want to say real quick that, oh my word, I can't stop looking at Captain Pike on Strange New Worlds. That guy is beautiful.
That is a handsome
That
man.
square jaw.
Yeah.
That is a handsome
beautiful
man.
Oh
That
my
is
gosh.
accurate.
Yeah. Anyway,
Great
That was
and great button, Ryan.
I'm looking.
Great job.
I'm really looking forward. Seriously, I'm looking forward to seeing Strange New Worlds. It's gonna.
Likewise.
Yeah.
When does that come
When
out?
does that? Yeah, I was gonna say ask that same question.
I don't know exactly, but
Don't know.
Old.
we'll talk about
Matt-
it again.
Matt's
I
okay.
was,
Yeah, that'll be a different supplement.
I was going to go into the uniforms, but we
No,
shouldn't.
that's a
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Let's talk about that on a different night.
Yeah, Brian should probably
Yeah.
send us out.
Okay, goodbye.
2022. Later.
What was it, Matt?
2022 is all it says.
Okay, so next year.
Wow.
The next
All
year.
right. Okay, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. This was our second episode of Tempest Talks in the midseason. We'll have some more fun stuff coming up, and like we talked about, we'll definitely be talking about Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds and everything else that's
We
coming.
should do
And
a
it's-
Voyager discussion.
Yeah, and we still got we haven't actually touched the classic, stuff that we have all grown up on. And it's crazy how much Star Trek is coming down the road. It's incredible and it's super exciting.
Yeah.
So there's going to be no shortage of material of us to talk about and to chew over. So there'll definitely be more. If you haven't yet, look us up on social media at Starship Tempest, which is our handle on basically everything. And check us out on all of the podcast apps out there like iTunes and Spotify and all the rest. And if you really want to help us out, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Starship Tempest. And you can sign up for one of several cool reward levels that we have that comes with super cool stuff. And until next time, we will see you out there.
See you out
Thanks,
there.
everyone.
Bye.